Green Cooling scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
Well, hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're listening from. This is the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show, and we're sat doing our version of Spring Watch again, aren't we?
We certainly are,
but it's like Summer Watch. We're in the glorious situation of your back garden here, Steve, and it is an absolutely glorious evening at the time that we're recording. Perfect for summer rugby.
It certainly is, and I must admit, I was out this afternoon. It was absolutely scorching. I was sweating like nobody's business, and I thought, you know what? Even though it's going to go a little chilly, it's still going to be warm enough for us to sit outside and do the show tonight, and it's going to be a jam-packed one tonight, I think.
It is. Now, we've not got your neighbour shooting at us again, have we?
No, they've actually gone now.
The neighbours have gone?
No, the police have been and arrested the guy with the gun.
For those of you that have been listening to us over the course of the season, the last time that we did one of these outside, I'm going to call it an outside broadcast. I think
it is
legitimately say that it is, can't we? You know, and we were on about something in particular. Then the next thing I heard, boom.
Yeah, I think you just mentioned Army Rugby League.
I think I might have done, yeah. I was thinking, who's been listening to us here? I think the artillery's across the road here. We were just joking. I don't think Steve's neighbour has been arrested for anything.
No, that's all right.
I just wanted to, clarify that. I think and try and not get us in trouble here, Steve.
I think his crops have started growing, so he's pleased that the birds have not taken all the seed. That's what it boils down to. But it does sound a little frightening. But saying that, at the moment they've managed to put 3 sets of traffic lights outside my house, so we can get cars parking up from time to time, and you get the odd person who's got the radio on rather loud. So I don't know why I was a bit before I was listening to someone who it must have been high flying gravity. I thought, that's very strange when you're driving home from work.
High flying gravity?
Yeah.
I've never heard of them.
They weren't high, they weren't flying, there were a set of traffic lights. It was just strange. It was
just stationary.
But we digress.
Anyway, we have got, as Steve mentioned, a really jam-packed show for you tonight. So,
do you know what, Parky? I think it could be a bazzer tonight.
I'm getting you onto the bazzer. I said that I wasn't going to mention it, and you've gone and done it, and you don't even like the word. But yeah, it's a really jam-packed show tonight. We have coming up interviews from the game that Steve was at, which was a really great St Helens derby. So we'll hear from Tom Connick of Pilkington Rex. We'll hear from Lee Cunningham of the Clockface Miners. We'll hear from our once upon a time regular on the show, Aidy O'Sullivan, to see what he's got to say about that game. And the game that I was at was between Egremont Rangers, who they travelled over to play against Oldham St Anne's. Two sides, it would be fair to say, that had been on, not the greatest of form, even though Egremont on the edge of the top 6 in Division 1. We had Oldham St Anne's, I think, won 3 of the first 5 fixtures after getting promoted, and then they've gone on a little bit of a losing run. Who was going to get the win? Well, we'll tell you a little bit about it, but I spoke to Charlie Wells, who's the assistant coach of Egremont Rangers, and I spoke to Callum Cashin of the Oldham St Anne's team as well. So lots and lots to come, as well as our usual roundup of all the action, our look forward to what's coming up this weekend, and of course our social media post of the week. Shall I break a tradition?
Well, you just fly.
I do it
fly
regular.
By nice you are.
I do it regularly, but let's do the social media post right here, right now.
Yeah, no problem. It was one that I'd heard a little bit about on Twitter, and then I had a quick look about on the Portico Vine website on their Facebook page, and lo and behold, yeah, it was true. Our old friend of the show, Mark Hobin, who's chairman over there at Portico Vine, had been given the MBE in the King's Birthday Honours list.
I mean, what an honour that is.
Yeah. To be honest, I mean, it couldn't go to a nicer bloke, could it? Because, as a chap himself, he's really hospitable, done loads for us, hasn't he? You know,
He certainly has.
And when we've been to speak to him, we've been round the club, people that can't speak highly enough for him, done loads for Portico Vine, and obviously from these connections with from his police background, does a lot for the police rugby league as well.
Yeah, I think he's he's turned Portico Vine into the police's headquarters, really. From a rugby league point of view, of course. I'm not suggesting that they've gone and suddenly, built a HQ on top of the Portico Vine pitch or anything like that. But he's done a tremendous job for rugby league, and also, as you say, through his services to the police as well, and police in the area. And I concur. I think that it couldn't happen for a nicer bloke. Very, very tuned in, a really, really passionate bloke when it comes to what he believes in. Congratulations from us here on the show.
Yeah, because he's turned what is an area where can be and has been in the past a very, very difficult area into to get anything sort of up and running. And he and obviously and I'm sure he'll be the first to say this, all his committee and everybody who's behind him down there at Portico Vine has turned that place into one absolutely brilliant. It's a hub, isn't it? It's a community hub. It's not just a place where they'll play rugby league. But he has got it thriving, which is really, really good.
It's a well-appointed club as well, isn't it? And I went earlier this season actually. In the Challenge Cup.
That's right.
The police hosted York Acorn, it was a great afternoon. That can't speak highly enough of that club.
So congratulations, mate, from us of us both here at 13 Pro Am.
So that's the news that Mark Hoban has been awarded an MBE in the King's Birthday Honours. Right, shall we take a look back at what happened last weekend, Steve?
We certainly will.
And let's start first of all with the National Conference Premier Division. And I'm going to start at the foot of the table. And I went to the foot of our stairs when this result came through, to be honest.
Wow.
I mean, this was a great result, to be honest. And I'm so pleased for everyone connected with Dewsbury Moor Maroons. They beat Thatto Heath Crusaders 16 points to 14 at home at the weekend. And the Maroons are finally on the board. Dewsbury Moor ended an 11-game losing sequence with a spirited 16-14 win against Thatto Heath Crusaders, who had edged the reverse fixture 28-12, but now find themselves in the drop zone later in the season. Dewsbury Moor made a fast start, posting early tries through Luke Adamson and Aidan Innison inside the first 16 minutes, with Louis Walker converting one. Thatto responded when Will Telecki went over and Ryan Horton added the extras. In the second half, both sides traded penalty goals, Horton for Thatto and Walker for Dewsbury, before Horton turned scorer himself, slipping over for a try 9 minutes from time to hand the visitors a 14-12 lead. Now, some people would have thought that would have been it.
Yeah.
And certainly, as we've been talking about the rest of Dewsbury Moor season, that certainly would have been. But in a thrilling finale, the Dewsbury Moor Maroons had the final say when James Sam powered over with just 5 minutes remaining on the board for a potentially season-defining winner. Brilliant, brilliant result this. So Dewsbury Moor Maroons tries once again from Luke Adamson, Aidan Innison and James Sam. 2 goals from the boot of Louis Walker. And for Thatto Heath Crusaders, tries from Willie Talik and Ryan Horton, with Horton adding 3 goals. But what a win, 16-14. It's worthwhile saying again, isn't it?
Yeah, I must admit, when I saw it, I couldn't believe it, because we were out at Thatto Heath when they played Wathbrow, and we said, do you know what, they were red hot, and they played some really, really good rugby league. Obviously they had there was no game the week after because of the Challenge Cup, so this was the first game since then. And I thought, you know what, that gives them a bit more time to rest up any knocks, because I know Horton came off on that day with a bit of a tight calf.
He did. After scoring a hat-trick in the first 15 minutes.
That's right, yeah. But obviously, got to take your hats off to Dewsbury Moor Maroons. will that be the kickstart to him hopefully moving a little bit further up?
Well, we'll wait and see, shall we?
Yeah, certainly will. So there you go. That's Dewsbury Moor Maroons over Tatterweath. Then we had Siddle. Well, they were up against Lee Miners Rangers, and Siddle, they stormed to the top of the Premier Division on Friday night with a dominant 52-0 win over Lee Miners Rangers, who were unable to cope with the home side's pace and execution. The game was close early on before Sam Walsh opened the scoring. The try opened the floodgates, with further first-half scores from Oliver Lewis, Christian Ackroyd and Daniel Rushworth, giving Siddle a 22-0 advantage at the break. The second half saw Lewis Hosty cross twice and land 8 goals from as many attempts. Further tries came from Henry Turner, Harvey Williams and Kiernan Smithies, as Siddle showcased their attacking depth. Lee's Kieran Reid was the standout player in a tough outing, and veterans Craig Ashall and Dave Rowlands added experience in the halves.
I think that's underplaying it somewhat, So I got contacted towards the back end of last week to put a post on the National Conference League Facebook. So I got asked by Alan Smith, who's the league's secretary from the Rugby League.
Yeah.
And he said, Lee Miners are saying that the combined age of their two halfbacks playing on Friday night is 83.
That's right. Yeah, we mentioned it last week, didn't we?
Yeah. Can you sort of put a post on and see whether anybody has got any older recollections of players being older in those positions, and there was a couple of interesting sort of posts along those lines, but I've not been able to confirm anything actually. So we do reckon that is one of the most experienced halfback pairings that has ever took the field in a National Conference League game.
Whether it was experienced enough to go down 52-0, it's a difficult one, but we know Siddle are on fire out there. They're a tidy outfit.
They're a cracking side. Yeah. They are a cracking side, and I just wonder whether they'll have been overly happy with that, because we saw the reverse fixture, didn't we?
That's right. Yeah.
Where Siddle had a similar high scoring burst, didn't they, before half time, and then only ended up scoring about 16 points in the second half, didn't they?
Because Lee Miners came back in it, because we mentioned that the youngsters were really giving it a good go, and they started putting in, and then Siddle just managed to just get
kind of got it back again.
That's right. Yeah.
Because I know that when I spoke with Kiernan Smithies after that, he was a little bit disappointed, and it shows the sort of high standards which Siddle expects.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, the room had it this week, by the way, that how, and again, forgive me for diverging a little bit here, but the big talk in Rugby League is the fact with Ken Davey getting some work done and paying for a new pitch to be put in at the Shea, so that potentially Huddersfield Giants can move in there on a temporary basis. Well, of course, while that work is being done, Halifax can't play at home, can they? So they can't play at the Shea. So they actually approached the Rugby League and said, we'd love to be able to play our fixtures over at Siddle. It's hosted Challenge Cup games in the past.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
However, it doesn't meet championship sort of specifications, unfortunately.
Isn't that strange? It'll meet Challenge Cup?
It meets the Challenge Cup with the work that they can have done, but doesn't meet because it's not got a covered stand and it's not got various other things, which, for me is a little bit of a harsh one.
Yeah.
But I kind of get it. I do kind of get it. Otherwise, teams could be playing anywhere, to be fair. But with some of the venues that you see in League One, the League One sort of specification is a lower spec than what you get in the Championship. So as a result, Halifax were wanting to stay within the town. And play their games at Siddle. They received note from the RFL saying that they wouldn't be able to do that, and they're off to Bradford apparently. So they're going to be playing at Odsal while that's happening.
Well, We'll stop that conversation there, I think.
Yeah. So I know where I would seen it sooner gone, but never mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the interesting sort of like story that broke regarding Siddle, regarding Halifax, and I just think what a fillip that would have been had they been allowed to host those championship fixtures. But
there could have been some leeway there, and a caveat put in that there's a reason behind why this is happening. But never mind.
Right, we're continuing with the top of the Premier Division in this next one. West against West. West Hull at home against West Bowling, and West Hull returned to the top of the table after a hard-fought 36-22 victory over West Bowling, who suffered a third consecutive defeat despite a really determined performance. Leon Stewart and Ryan Wilson went over early for Hull, with Jack Townend converting both tries. Lewis Crowther added a third before Bowling fought back with converted tries from Archie Halmshaw and Josh Lynham, making it 18 points to 12 at half-time. After the break, Charlie Beat extended the lead for West Hull before Lewis Taylor cut the gap again for Bowling, but Townend and Eli Wilkinson settled the game with back-to-back scores, and Townend's 5 from 6 with the boot proved vital. Now, it says that in the report, but I think when I counted up, he had actually kicked 6 goals. So, because it was 36-22 was the final score. So I will ignore that. But that kicking performance did prove vital, I will say. Charlie Barrett had the final say with a late try for the visitors, but it did finish West Hull 36, West Bowling 22. And the West Hull tries again scored by Leon Stewart, Ryan Wilson, Lewis Crowther, Charlie Beat, Jack Townend and Eli Wilkinson. 6 goals from the boot of Jack Townend. And for West Bowling, their tries again, Archie Halmshaw, Josh Lynham, former Keighley Cougars player of course, Josh Lynham, Lewis Taylor and Charlie Barrett, with 3 goals from the boot of Harry Williams. Great result that. But again, for me, this top of the table is a really interesting conundrum, isn't it? At the moment at the top of the Premier Division.
Speaking of conundrums, well, Hunslet ARFC made it 5 wins from 5 with a strong 32 points to 12 home victory over Rochdale Mayfield, climbing out of the bottom 3 in the process. The horse came flying out of the blocks, scoring 4 tries inside 22 minutes through George Rayner, Michael Waite, Josh McClelland and Harry Shackleton, all converted by Jordan Gale. Mayfield briefly threatened through Jacob Andrews-Smith and a goal from Cole Connolly, but a Gale penalty on half-time made it 26 points to 6. So the second half was a war of attrition until the final minute when Oliver Whitehead and Connolly swapped tries, both gold. So scorers for Hunslet ARLFC, tries from Rayner, Waite, McClelland, Shackleton and Whitehead, and 6 goals from the boot of Jordan Gale. For Rochdale Mayfield, tries from Jacob Andrews-Smith, Cole Connolly, and 2 goals as well from Cole Connolly. Now, we said this last week, what has changed? Is it something in the water at Hunslet? Because suddenly, that's going to frighten people. And I just know it is, because people know what Hunslet are like when they get on the roll.
You know what? Because I said we'd do perhaps a little bit more of a deeper dive into this, and admittedly, I've not had a chance to do as much of a deeper dive as I would prefer. But looking at their team sheets over the last few weeks, they've got some real continuity in who they've been selecting.
Yeah.
People seem to be comfortable, I guess you could say, in their roles now at Hunslet, where perhaps earlier on in the season it was like, I think they were showing how much they were missing the likes of the 2 McShanes. Who've been there and done it for a number of years. And when you take 2 such pivotal players out of a team, any team is going to struggle. They also had the scrum half retire from the end of last year.
Yeah.
So I think that in a lot of ways,
flawed, that, isn't it?
In a lot of ways, they've been trying to almost find their identity again. Mm-hmm. They found it. Mm-hmm. They found it. The way that they're stringing the wins together at the moment makes me think now rather than talking about relegation, it's got me thinking about they can push into that top 4.
Definitely.
And they'll push for this championship yet again. And it was looking unlikely even just 6 or 7 weeks ago, wasn't it? But the fact that they are on this run now and they look confident, they're playing confident, and like I say, they've got a level of consistency about the game that perhaps was missing a little bit earlier on in the season. Fair play to them. You know, what a turnaround. What a season we're seeing from them, and what an interesting season we have for the rest of this campaign. Is that Jamie Fields sort of letting you know and saying, we're saying nice things?
Yeah.
Are you saying nice things about us, Steve and Dave? Are you saying nice things? Of course we are. But yeah, it's the story that we are keeping an eye on, isn't it?
It certainly is. It's as I say, that will make the others, sort of stand up. Those top 4 at least, sort of say, hang on, they're not done yet, these guys.
Another side that is making the existing order of the Premier Division stand up and take notice is Waterhead Warriors. They've been ultra competitive ever since they got into this Premier Division, and they've powered to a comprehensive 40-6 victory over Lock Lane. Now, this didn't happen on their own pitch because they actually lost that game earlier on in the season, 22-12 at home, but they more than got their I was going to say revenge, really, winning in Castleford by 40-6, strengthening their position among the Premier Division's top side. The Oldham outfit stormed into a 12-0 lead thanks to converted tries by Scott Parnaby, great lad Scott, one of the heroes of Italy from a couple of years ago, and Jensen Hamilton. Lock Lane's discipline then unravelled before the break, with Connor Wilson Simbined on 34 minutes for a late hit, and Luke Tagg, he's another guy who went on tour with his Luke, back in the day, back in Fiji, sent off for punching just 4 minutes later. Waterhead turned the screw in the second half, helped by a further sin-bin of Morgan Jones for a professional foul. Tries by Parnaby and Hamilton, both completing doubles, along with scores from Michael Birch, Harrison Dodd and Keegan Brennan, saw the visitors stretch their lead, with Brennan converting 6 goals. Lock Lane's lone highlight came in the 66th minute when Connor Wilson, who had earlier returned from the sin bin, crashed over for a try converted by Nathan Fossard, which prevented a whitewash. But ultimately 40-6. What a win. Waterhead tries 2 of them from Scott Parnaby, 2 from Jensen Hamilton, 1 each for I think it should be Mitch Birch, that actually, rather than Michael. I think that's me getting it wrong. Harrison Dodd in for his 12th of the season. Keegan Brennan, and Brennan also adding 6 goals. Lock Lane with that try from Connor Wilson and that goal from Nathan Fossard. Connor Wilson, if I remember rightly, is the guy that you likened to Scott Gibbs when we were over at Cast, the chunky centre.
Yeah, he's sort of solid as a rock, isn't he? Yeah, I liked him. Watbrow, they were up against York Acorn. And obviously Watbrow were coming off that loss against Pilks last time they were out.
Tasso.
Tasso. And up against a York Acorn side who always seemed to can cause them trouble. But not this time. It was Watbrow Hornets returning to winning ways with a 32-12 win over fellow playoff hopefuls York Acorn, leapfrogging them into the top 6. The Hornets rode into a 16-0 lead after tries from Craig Murphy, Frank King and Peter Caddy. Acorn got on board through Jack Byrne, which was converted by Ant Chilton. In the second half, Morgan McCourt scored a key try before Chilton crossed again and goal to make it 26-12 contest. But McCourt wasn't finished, rounding off the game with 2 more scores, including a brilliant 70-metre solo try to complete his hat-trick. So scorers for Watbrow Hornets was Craig Murphy, Frank King, Peter Caddy, Morgan McCourt with a hat-trick, and goals 3 from the boots of Greg Rooney, with York Acorn's tries coming from Jack Byrne, Ant Chilton, and 2 goals from Ant Chilton.
Now this is a real notable result for Watbrow Hornets, because again they were undermanned. So I believe, similar to the story of a couple of weeks ago when we saw them lose at Thatto Heath, they were missing something like 30 players from both the first and second team due to different stag do's, I believe. It happens, doesn't it, in this level of rugby league, to be fair. So this, for me, is a real notable result. But another notable thing, Morgan McCourt, how good do you think he's going to be? Because he's a young fella with a massive future. Looked head and shoulders the best back on the field when we saw them play at Thatto Heath.
That's right, yeah.
And he's followed that with a hat-trick. So, my maths isn't great, but that's 4 tries in 2 games.
Yeah, he's a tricky customer, or he makes himself tricky, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Because he can spin out of a tackle really, really well, and he's got a good turn of pace to him as well.
Great to see, Frank King leading his side ever so well. One of the nicest guys, in my opinion, in amateur rugby league. So well done, Wathbury Hornets, winning 32 points to 12, moving into Division 1. And it's just not happening for Woolston Rovers, is it? So they finished Woolston Rovers 0, Wigan St Jude's 66. Jude's continued their relentless form in Division 1 with a 13-try demolition of Woolston Rovers, who remain anchored in relegation trouble. Rhys McNally bagged a hat-trick and Danny Cassidy scored 2 tries and kicked 7 goals in a clinical performance. There are also 2 tries each for Dante Morley-Samuels and others coming from Adam Lavin, Mackenzie Davis, Joey Brady and Rhys Matthews. The visitors actually led 42 points to 0 at half-time, and they didn't let up in the second half. Woolston, despite the efforts of fullback Ben Roberts, were simply outgunned in every department. So again, St Jude's 3 tries from Rhys McNally, 2 tries from Danny Cassidy, 2 tries from Dante Morley-Samuels, 1 each for Adam Lavin, Mackenzie Davis, Joey Brady and Rhys Matthews, with Danny Cassidy adding 7 goals.
7 from 10. You've got to say, Woolston, it's not looking good for them, is it? And bearing in mind their neighbours, Crossfields, they were up against Oulton Raiders in a bit of a battle, weren't they? And I know it was one that Rob Campbell had earmarked and targeted with hopefully trying to get something from, because of the being around each other. And Crossfield finally found reason to cheer in the National Conference League Premier Division as they picked up their first win of the season, ending a 10-match losing streak, leapfrogging the Oulton Raiders to move off the bottom of the table on points difference. It was the Raiders who struck first, with winger Charlie Costello finishing in the corner after just 7 minutes. However, Josh Perkins couldn't convert from the touchline in swirling conditions. The Soap responded swiftly, levelling the scores just 3 minutes later when Dylan Bradish crossed on the right, though Brad Stanway missed a conversion to leave the score at 4-all. That was how the score was at the break, despite lively efforts from Zach Gardner for the home side and Tom Lunn leading Oulton's pack with strong carries. Crossfield took control in the second half, with Taylor Boyne sliced through the defence line on 50 minutes to edge the horse in front, before Brad Stanway followed up with a try of his own just 4 minutes later. Stanway added both conversions to establish a commanding 16 points to 4 lead. The win was sealed with just 4 minutes remaining when Bradish grabbed his second try of the afternoon, capitalising on a tiring Raiders defence. It was a huge moment for the Warrington club, who showed grit, teamwork and no shortage of heart to get it off the marks. Scorers for Crossfield were Dylan Bradish, and we had Taylor Boyne, Brad Stanway and Stanway kicked 2 goals. Oulton Raiders, they had Charlie Costello and a goal, and Josh Perks unfortunately missed a goal out on that one.
That's a notable result, that, isn't it? Again, we were saying that could really kickstart their season, similar to the win that Dewsbury Maroons had in the Premier Division. It's been a long time in coming. I know that Rob Campbell's been working particularly hard with his squad, and when we saw them early doors in the Challenge Cup, it looked like they were in for a good season. So I'm not quite sure what's gone on there, but they can only look forwards now, can't they?
Yeah, well, when I went down and watched them against Shawcott Cross Sharks, I mean, they were unlucky to lose that game. There was just a couple of little things. So there was it was there And I remember interviewing him afterwards, and I said there's a lot to take away from that, even though it was a loss at the end of the day. And that's when he was telling us, and he was, as honest as he can be. And he said, we've got to target the teams that are around us. Mm-hmm. And he's done that. And do you know what? That's 20 points to 4. That is a really good win. Good win.
It is. Another side that came up with a good win, you actually mentioned them, Shawcross Sharks. And late drama unfolded at Shawcross with a Lewis Heckford penalty goal from 22 metres out, just 2 minutes from time, which sealed a nail-biting 24-22 victory for the title-chasing Sharks. I'm sure in saying that, Ince-Rose Bridge and Wigan St Jude's will have something to say about that, but they're making a really good fist of their time in Division 1. Shawcross never actually trailed in this game against Wigan St Pat's, with Callum Barker grabbing 2 tries and further scores coming from Arian Woods and Tom Ashen. Lewis Heckford landed 3 goals before stepping up late to slot that match winner under pressure, and Wigan St Pat's fought all the way and actually outscored the host by 5 tries to 4, with Liam Wright notching 2, Isaac Wheatley grabbing a try and a conversion, and other scores going the way of Adam O'Neill and Jack Sprout. Despite this attacking intent shown by Pats, it was the cooler heads of Shawcross that ultimately edged the thriller. So, a reminder of those scores: for Callum Barker scoring twice for Shawcross, Arian Woods and Tom Ashen also going over for tries, Lewis Heckford adding 4 goals from 5 attempts. For Wigan St Pat's, 2 tries from Liam Wright, 1 each from Isaac Wheatley, Adam O'Neill and Jack Sprout. But the tail of the tape, that tells you Isaac Wheatley with only 1 success from 5. That's where the game was won and lost, unfortunately. But good result that for Shawcross.
Yeah. And I don't think, I'd be surprised if Wigan St Pat's were unduly, sort of disappointed with that, because Shawcross Sharks at home are a tough deal. And same as you say, they had a really good chance there. With some say you're saying 5 goals and they kept 1 out of 5. So it just shows if to get their act together, because they're still in that mix with, as you say, Jude's and Ince-Rose Bridge.
They're sitting in 6th spot at the moment, Wigan St Pat's. They played 1 game less than the rest of the teams above them. And they're only 1 point behind, moving up to 5th, which is currently occupied by Stanley.
Speaking of Stanley, they were up against Ince-Rose Bridge. Anybody think we planned this? And it was Ince-Rose Bridge who march on 24 points to 16. League leaders flexed their early game dominance to record a 24 points to 16 home win over Stanley, ending the lead side 4-game winning streak in the process. Early tries from Kyle Malone and Keegan Boyd, both converted by Mason Fillingham, set the tone for Ince. Jack Morrison powered over before the break, and Callum Rogers added a 4th shortly after the hour mark. Stanley battled gamely, with Alex Ryan, Jeremy Wiscombe and Jack Sykes getting on the score sheet, while Adam Butterell converted both goals. But the home side had done enough to keep them at arm's length. Scorers for Ince-Rose Bridge: Malone, Boyd, Morrison and Rogers. Fillingham was successful from the boot from 4 from 4. Standing late tries from Ryan, Wiscombe and Sykes, and Butterell kicking 2 from 3.
Meanwhile, up at Kells, Heworth were victorious by 28 points to 10. Heworth keeping themselves firmly within the playoff picture with that solid win away at Kells, who are slipping further off the pace in the Division 1 top 6. The villagers, Heworth, were fast out of the blocks, racing to an 18-8 lead inside 25 minutes through tries from Maddox Jeffrey, Harley Axe, I'm glad he's back playing for him again, Harley, good player, and Mackenzie Skerr, all converted between George Elliott, Dan Clark and Jack Sadler. It almost seems like whoever was closest to the ball had a go at kicking the goal as far as Heworth were concerned. Kells did reply with a try from James Ennis and a second half effort from Joel Moore, which was improved by Ross Gameford, but Heworth sealed things late on with Skerr's second try and a score from captain Fraser West. Sadler again adding the extras. So Heworth with their tries, Maddox Jeffrey, Harley Axe, Mackenzie Skerr with 2 and Fraser West, with goals split between George Elliott who got 1, Dan Clark who got 1 and Jack Sadler who kicked 2. Meanwhile Kells, Second best for them on the day, James Ennis with a try, Joe Moore with a try, Ross Gainford with 1 goal. And then the game that I was at, to be honest,
I was just going to mention that, Parky.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about this one. So, Oldham St Anne's found themselves a little bit of form. And I have to admit, they had the better start in the game. So, ultimately, it was a confidence-boosting 46-14 win against Egremont Rangers. I mean, that suggests that it was really, really comfortable for Oldham St Anne's. And initially, it wasn't. So, Oliver Bryan opened the scoring for Saints, but there was a quick fire double which came from Egremont Rangers. So the first one, and probably over the first sort of 10 minutes, they'd hardly stepped at Egremont inside the Oldham St Anne's half. But when Oldham St Anne's lost the ball about 40 metres out from the Egremont line, it was picked up by Kai Beckett, and he showed a clean pair of heels to the defence, went 60 metres right down the other end. Unfortunately, it wasn't gold, but it put them on the board at 6 points to 4. Then, I know certainly I spoke with Christian Tyrer a few weeks ago, and he's a player that is on the comeback trail after a really bad injury. I think he's 5 or 6 games back now, but you can see that he's had to adapt his game somewhat. So he's becoming like the little general on the field, in all honesty. And he put a lovely kick over for Tom Horton to go and touchdown, and that actually put Egremont in the lead. And at that point I'm thinking, we're in for a really, really good game here. But then Kendall Davis responded, which put Oldham St Anne's back in front at 12 points to 8, and then they went back to back and scored 3 tries before the half-time whistle. So Hayden Wardle then went over, his first touch, he'd gone on off the bench, gone on the wing, and next thing you know, the ball's popped out to him and he's diving over in the corner. And then Egremont kind of panicked. They were trying to play around the Oldham St Anne's defence, who were really pushing up well, but they're trying to play out of their own 20-metre line. So really, that's not the sort of place where you want to be unleashing long passes. And Kai Beckett, as soon as he passed, he realised he shouldn't have done. Greg Worrell snatched it and ran in for an intercept, and that kind of like knocked the stuffing really out of Egremont just before the break. So they actually trailed by 30 points to 8. Now, it was a really competitive second half, to be honest, and it did take quite a while for them to be broken down, and it ended up with Dom Igo going in the second half, Callum Fletcher and Callum Cashin scoring. There'd also been a try as well in that build-up in the first half to Leo McNally. So in a way, they only conceded 3 tries in that second half, 2 of them from really close range. I've got to say, I did enjoy Callum Cashin's score. It was a dashing effort from the full-back, sort of skirting his way up the middle of the pitch. Lewis Hollidge ended up adding 7 goals, and Egremont's only reply in the second half came in right in the last minute when centre Caden Block crossed and Christian Tyson converted, so it finished 46 points to 14. After this game, I had the opportunity to, first of all, chat with one of the try scorers, Callum Cashin, and this is what he had to say. Okay, I'm alongside Callum Cashin. Callum, we're just after a great win for Oldham St Anne's, 48 points to 14 at home to Egremont. You play full-back. I believe you've not played there very often before, if at all. How was the game for you?
It was good, yeah, it was good, really good. It was a bit of a last-minute thing.
When did you know that you was going to be playing full-back?
Thursday afternoon.
Okay. You don't have much time to think about it.
Oh no, Thursday night, no. I went there in training, and Ches, he pulled me to one side. He said, you might be there, you might be on the wing, we don't know yet. And then Friday morning the team got put in, I was at full-back. So, not late notice, but...
Tell me what the difference is then, because obviously I've seen you before running in tries for fun as a winger, and now you're suddenly in the middle of the field looking around seeing what your halfbacks are doing.
But it's not so much the attack, because your halfbacks tell you where to go on that. It's the defending side of things. You've got to tell your defenders when they're coming back from the ruck where to go, where you want them. Look up, see where numbers are, see where the opposition halfbacks are, to see where they put their numbers, where they're going to attack, where do you think what's going to happen. eye bombs, catching low kicks. It's completely different position, but I thought I adapted well.
So is it more of a challenge mentally then, rather than anything else?
Oh yeah, completely. Because on the wing you're not involved as much, so you don't have to think as much. When you're at fullback, you have to sort of dictate to people where they should be on the field and have a little bit of game knowledge about yourself to see what's going on and what's happening during the game.
I thought you did a real good fist of it though, and certainly, you could see that you were trying to be vocal and you were trying to organise, which, as you said, it's something completely different, because usually as a winger you're counting the tackles, aren't you, making sure that then you're back for the last kick.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's usually I'm just catching and falling over the line. That's usually my job, but then when you've got to get involved in the back line and catch and pass, and it's just a completely different position, but it's where I had to be and where I had to do a job, so it was up to me to do the best I could, really.
You know what, I really like that attitude, because I mean, some guys would say, I've never played fullback before, I don't want to play that, but yet you've stuck your hand up and you said, well, go on then, I'll give it a shot.
Well, I didn't really stick my hand up, I got told that's where I was going, so I went there.
Well, either way, you still did it though,
yeah, well, I did the best I could, so yeah, that'll do for me.
Let's reflect on the game. As we were talking about, 48 points to 14. Arguably, when they'd scored the 2 tries, I thought they were a little bit against their own play, because they've not really been in like your half very much.
Yeah, there was 2 errors on our side which gave them the tries. The first try was a runaway off a bit of a silly knock-on that shouldn't have happened, but I thought the second try where they kicked across, I thought that was a really, really good try. It was a great take by their winger.
And as well, like looking at that game, I mean, it was 30 points to 8 at half time, and at that stage, when they'd scored their 2 tries, it was really, really close, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So what were the sort of messages that were going on, and what was sort of being said? Was it just a case of getting your heads down and just concentrating for that 20-minute period?
It would just basically just simplify the game, stop overcomplicating it, stop trying to do things that, obviously we had players out of position, players not knowing 100% what was going on, so it was just simplify the game, go right behind the ruck, outside of C, back to a 50s, to a 70s, and just listen to your halfbacks and do what they tell you to do.
You had a fab start to the season. I think it was 3 wins from the first 5 games or something like that, and then obviously there's been a run of defeats, but yet this suggests that there can be another run of wins on the back of this.
Well, that was the focus all week. The focus all week was, we need a win this week. We need a win at home. We've been on the back of some close losses. Kells away, very close loss. I wasn't here for Jude's. I couldn't tell you about that game. But the whole focus of training this week was, no matter what happens this week, we need a win.
And to be fair, home form's crucial, isn't it, when you're looking at National Conference League? The teams that can generally do something are the sides that get it right at home more often than not.
100%. It's a division, this division, anyone can beat anyone. It's not like years gone past where we're in Division 3 and we're going to places and putting points on people, and Division 2 just getting them wins away. It's completely different. There's a higher calibre of players playing against you. There's teams are more coordinated, they've played together for years and years, and it's just a completely different league than what we're used to. But I think with the players that we've got in, because we've lost quite a lot of players to going abroad or injuries or just not playing anymore, I think the boys that we've got in are doing a fantastic job, unbelievable.
I always like there's a couple of young guns as well as some experienced lads that have been around the block before who's perhaps come back into the fold.
Well, last year when we started in Division 2, it was a bit of a reform for the club. The under-16s, the under-18s, we were all starting to train together and play as a team, and what we're doing as a first team, the under-18s are doing, the under-16s are doing, so everything that the youth is doing is relative to what the open age are doing, so you could just pick a player out and put him in, and the systems don't change. The systems are exactly the same, so they know everything that's going on.
You hear that about other Saints doing that, don't you?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And what's that like to be, because obviously you've been around this first team for a little while now. With those guys who's kind of retired, does that mean that... I'm going to put this, because obviously you're still a young fella compared with me, but you're an experienced rugby player now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's great to be around having young lads coming through and know they can just slot in and just do a job for you. do a fantastic job as well. In training, we're going against the under-18s, and we're not scoring 20-30 points. It's 6-0. 6 apiece, 12 apiece. It's just a fantastic club to be around.
And I tell you what, I mean, I love these facilities here. So as soon as I arrived, and admittedly, I've not been down here perhaps as much as I should have been. So it is where you can kick your backside. However, you know, like, I mean, I just think this is just a brilliant place to play rugby. When you look at it, and you've got like the Pennine footer just over our shoulder, you've got a brilliant field. I mean, that's one of the best fields that I've seen this season.
Honestly, the facilities of this club are second to none. It's absolutely fantastic. Well, I've only ever played here, so I can't say anything about anyone else, but I wouldn't want to play anywhere else because it's just so good here. Even the backroom staff and the people behind the bar and the committee and everything behind this club is unreal. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it feels like you're together in everything.
Oh, we're together in everything. You could go in there now and ask a question about even if you were just, say you're a young kid and you've just finished school and you needed a little bit of work, there's at least 20 men in there that you could go, have you got a job for me at the weekend, or have you got a day job, and by all means they'd take you on, no problem. It's a fantastic place to be.
You know, and that's what I love about community rugby, and those are the stories that I always like to hear about as well, because, you know, let's be honest, you know, most people kind of, if they're just sort of bypassing, they'll just see that 80 minutes, but it's so much more, isn't it?
Oh, it's so much more than that. It's just a community of people at this club, and it's like I say, it's second to none.
Callum, thank you so much for joining me. All the best for the rest of the season. Who have you got coming up next?
We've got Stanley next week.
Big game.
A very big game, yeah.
Well, all the best. Hopefully now you can start looking up that table again, can't you?
Yeah, we need to start picking some points up. That was the focus, obviously, this week was to win here. I think we want to start focusing I think we want at least another 6 points out of these next 4 games. That's what we're going for as a team.
Green Cooling keeps the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show cool, even when tackles get heated.
My thanks go to Callum though. What a super chat. We ended up covering quite a lot of ground there, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think he felt by the end of that interview that he'd done another game, to be honest. But no, it was really good. I mean, he had a very good game actually, you know, because they were trying to pin him back with the kicks.
Yeah.
And as I said, when we've seen him before, he's been a winger, he's been scoring lots of tries. But it was really interesting because I didn't think, you know, and don't get me wrong, I've seen a lot of rugby league. But it's interesting when you hear someone talk about the difference between positions, isn't it? You know, and the fact that...
And I think that Parky, and like I've said time again, one of the things that drew me into this, I've come to it initially, the whole thing, as a fan. So you would stand there and just watch a game and not really knowing, you know, the intricacies of how, you know, why the form in this shape, why the half-back does this and why the full-back does that. And what, like, these types of conversations now are so enlightening, and it forces you to watch the game in a totally different. Like, we had the conversation about the wingers shouting out the number of tackles. I'd never ever seen that happen before. And you know, but it's one of those things. Until you if you've never been involved in the club with regards to, you know, sort of doing the training, etc., you don't realise these things. And it's like when you hear fans talking about, you know, such and such a body should have done this and such. You're thinking, you don't understand why that has been done. You need to understand the mechanics of that, you know, how the players are set up and what the mindsets are, and how they're approaching various games. And that was excellent. That was really, really good.
I've got to say as well, thank you to everyone at Oldham St Anne's for making me as comfortable as what you could. It was one of those days where we had, how do I describe it? Intermittent showers, I think you would prefer to say. I got drenched about 3 times over the course of the afternoon, but they couldn't do enough for us. You know, absolutely brilliant club to deal with. And as I said, a very picturesque venue as well. So from where I'd set up, there was like loads of evergreen sort of trees behind us, you know, massive conifers. Okay.
Yeah.
It felt like it was on the side of a hill.
Yeah.
So I'm looking out, had a great view of the pitch, and then you could see sort of the foothills of the Pennines as well. And I thought, this is a proper rugby league ground. I loved it. It was a great venue. I've got to say, I want to go back. I really do want to go back there. You know, maybe it's just Oldham. Maybe I'm just drawn to Oldham because we'll
get onto that a little bit later.
We'll get onto that a little bit later. You're quite right. But thanks to Callum for his time and his conversation there. Now, I also had the opportunity to put a foot in the opposition's camp as well. I had a chat with the Egremont Rangers assistant coach, Charlie Wells, and this is it right now.
Okay, I've been joined by Charlie Wells right after the game here. Unfortunately, a defeat, 48 points to 14. How did you see this one?
Yeah, it was a difficult one. Really proud to start with. Anytime you come away and you're kind of down on numbers, you're up against it straight away. I thought, as far as all the detaily stuff goes, we kind of matched them today. It was obviously the conditions was horrendous at times, and it was always going to be who kind of played the conditions a bit better. And unfortunately, it was Oldham.
I mean, we did have the intermittent showers, didn't we, which didn't help, because I mean, you came out doing your warm-ups and, you know, it's glorious sunshine, and then as soon as the game starts, the heavens open.
Yeah, and to be fair, obviously, we've done our research before the game. All the lads were checking the forecast before we got down. We knew it was around about 3 o'clock it was going to get quite bad, and luckily for us, it might have not shown it today, but our last session on Thursday, it was absolutely torrential rain, so we thought it would kind of put us in good stead, and we had, like I say, all our game plan on Thursday should have kind of went into this game, but unfortunately we just couldn't keep hold of the ball, and it kind of not just dropping balls, but just penalties that obviously we give away on any day. It just seemed to be it was just compound and like a knock on with a penalty, and it was the story of the game really.
I want to take you back to that midpoint of the first half, though, because that's where you really charged into the contest.
Yeah.
You had Kai Beckett goes 60 metres, brilliant pick-up. Where did he find that pace from? Has he had that pace all season and been hiding it?
Yeah, well, Kai's one of our Aussie lads. Obviously, I'd watched a lot of tape on Kai before we asked him to come over, and his strength is his running game. I'd say all of his tries that he's scored this year, apart from maybe one or two, they've all been breakaway tries. So we know he can move, and look, that was a lucky break for us, because we were just starting to lose, not the arm wrestle, but the field position sort of battle, and he reacted well, jumped on a loose ball, and luckily had the pace to get away.
And we know, having spoken to Christian Tyson before, that he's adapting his game. Obviously, he's only 5-6 games back from a really serious injury, so it's interesting to see him stepping up and becoming more of a sergeant major for the side, really. And that was a beautiful kick for Tom Horton, wasn't it?
Yeah. Bus is what's he? Maybe 4 or 5 games into to his comeback, we'll call it. He's missed a lot of rugby over the last 18 months, and by his own standards, he started the season quite slow. But to be honest, we were just happy he was getting through games. He wasn't aggravating that previous injury, and as the seasons went on, like Buster's, he was obviously our captain today. He's a fantastic leader, and I think with Kai moving from full-back into the halves today, it was a big game for Christian, and I thought he'd done his job fantastic, especially in defence. He was, I think they were getting sick of running at him at one point.
Oh, they kept going at him, didn't they?
Yeah, it's typical. You just presume you're going to send lead runners inside half-backs and that, but luckily for us, we've got Kai as well. I know Kai didn't have his best game today, but we've got 2 half-backs, and same with Paul Corkill when he's playing for us. He's all 3 of them can defend really well. So Busters, came on leaps and bounds. Every game just seems to turn it up a level. Unfortunately, being down on so many numbers today, he didn't deserve to be on the losing team today. But it is what it is, unfortunately.
Another player I didn't think deserved to be on the losing side, especially due to his early defensive work in particular, was Henry Brown. I thought some of his tackles out wide were tremendous, and they were try savers, weren't they?
Yeah, well, Henry's another one. Obviously, with him being just 18 years old, not many people know who he is, and I know he maybe doesn't look the part on the field. It's skinny ginger lad, but not many people know he's had back-to-back leg breaks, Henry. So his last game was 2 seasons ago, and he's been absolutely. It's almost like he hasn't missed any rugby in that period. He's been that good. We kind of had him penciled in as kind of back row cover this year, but he's been that good. He's arguably, with his commitment playing a part, he's one of the first names on the team sheet, and yeah, he's a late comer to rugby league as well. He's more of a footballer, but I think he only started when he was maybe about 14. So in rugby years he's quite underdeveloped, but toughness and hard work and just doing the right thing is brilliant for us, Henry.
You must like working with players like that, to be honest. And is that like, does that epitomise some of the younger players that you've got coming through the system at Egremont now? Yeah,
it's just about understanding where people are. Like, obviously, we'd like every player that comes into Open Age to have played since they were 5 and 6 year old, and come in obviously with a certain skill level, and just know exactly what's expected. But there's also some success stories like Henry, a bit of a late bloomer. I wouldn't say late bloomer. As soon as he started rugby, he was good. He was
suited to it.
Yeah, you could tell straight away. He was that under-16s team that was watching quite a bit under Gary Elliott. He was straight away. He was one of their main players. And yeah, we've just got to kind of, obviously, with him missing so much youth rugby, we've just got to kind of work with his skills. I'm sure you've probably noticed today, he doesn't like a pass. He's more of a runner, but that'll probably come, and people click and develop at different stages. So I'm sure Henry, when he gets into his 20s or maybe even earlier, he'll start introducing a pass and maybe an offload into his game.
Now, I know you had a good number of players missing today. Are they likely to come back into contention for the next game that you got?
Yeah, well, I don't want to annoy anyone by some comments, but obviously everyone's aware when the fixtures come out at the start of the season, it's not guaranteed, but you're able to change 2 fixtures if it doesn't suit you. But so I asked all the players at the start of the year, can you just send me the dates that you're away? I don't know, people go to festivals and holidays and whatnot, and there wasn't a game that I got sent through that had more than 2 players missing, so I didn't think there was a need to change any games. So the disappointing, as well as last time I seen you down at Innsrose and today, the disappointing thing is that so many people are missing that said they were going to be playing. So me and Danny, the head coach, we've kind of made an agreement. We're going to have a conversation with the squad on Tuesday and just kind of say, like, these guys that are filling in now, we're just going to have to stick with them, because if this carries on where people are just kind of going away willy-nilly, it's just going to affect the culture, and that's just not what we want. So you've got Caden Block, Sam Williams, Henry, who we've just mentioned, Craig Burkett, who came off the bench, Tom Horton on the wing, like Brad Long, James Messenger, absolutely phenomenal commitment levels, and I think we've just got to be working with them, because they're going to be the future of the club. Yeah.
Rugby League's secret weapon, Green Cooling, scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show.
My thanks go to Charlie Wells, though. Again, some really honest, insightful bits. I mean, certainly that last minute where he was describing that they'd sent the message out at the start of the season about, look, let us know any games that you're not available for. So it sounds like he wasn't expecting there not to be 8 or 9 players missing from his ranks, which is disappointing. Yeah. I know and this is where we're sort of torn a little bit, because I get it, and it's ever since we've seen COVID, people have decided, if I'm going to go on holiday, or I'm going to go to a festival, or I'm going to have, a day out with the missus, I'm going to do it. However, communicate that.
Yeah.
Communicate that with your coaches.
I mean, they've been honest and upfront though to say, look, if you are going to do anything, please let us know. Then we can,
they can make plans. Things. You can plan it in. Yeah. You could even, they could have even asked, like you were saying, for potentially that game to be played another time.
Yeah.
If it was going to be, like a real struggle for them. And as a result, they've come down. Take nothing away from the lads that took the field, by the way. And take nothing away from the lads who took the field for Oldham St Anne's, because I don't want to sort of diminish this win in any way, because they played really well, to be fair, did Oldham St Anne's. But I don't think we saw the best of Egremont, and I don't feel that we've seen the best of Egremont when they've been on the road, and certainly I've seen them this season. So quite strong words there, where he's saying that they're going to have a word and put more time into the lads who are committed. And interesting that he named a few of them there as well.
Yeah. Oh, drops the mic and walks off, as they say.
Yeah, you wouldn't get that in Super League, would you?
Oh, no, you wouldn't, would you?
Loved it. But yeah, thanks, Charlie. Really appreciate that, and I appreciate that it's not the easiest of things to do to come and have a chat after a defeat, but we appreciate it greatly.
Yeah, very much so. So moving on to Division 2, where we've got Ensington were taking on Thornhill Trojans, and Ensington made it 5 wins in a row with a commanding 28 points to 12 win over Thornhill Trojans, who finished the game with 12 men. The visitors dominated the opening half, taking an 18-0 lead before Sam Ratcliffe was sin-binned for a high tackle. Reuben Butterworth, Luke Charlton, Fletcher Aldgate and Miller Dalton all crossed, while Adam Williamson's kick a perfect 6 from 6. Thornhill rallied with 2 tries through Rye Ward, both converted by Ratcliffe, but their frustration boiled over late on when Brad Llewellyn was shown the red card for alleged punching. So Ratcliffe went off for a sin bin for a high tackle, Llewellyn sent off for punching, and the scorers for Thornhill were 2 tries for Rye Ward, and Sam Ratcliffe was on hand with 2 goals. Ensington tries: Reuben Butterworth, Luke Charlton, Fletcher Aldgate, Miller Dalton, and 6 from 6 from Adam Williamson.
These are good times, aren't they, for Ensington? And again, for me, this is like the evolution of that side. They've now bounced into Division 2, and they're more than holding their own. I mean, they're not that far away from playoff contention. They're certainly starting to upset the apple cart and starting to get some notable wins. And Thornhill have been one of the sides in this division that's been very, very competitive.
That's right.
And it seems like they fell into, can I say, a lot lane trap in this one.
Yeah, I suppose they did, didn't they, to a certain degree. But what I noticed from an Ensington point of view, when we're reading out their scorers, there's a lot of those names we recognise. You know what I mean? So the consistent, sort of performance week in and week out. And
nice to see Luke Charlton on the scoreboard as well, because if you remember, he was the first player that we commentated on last season who was under dual registration terms.
That's right, yeah.
So he'd been released by Workington Town on dual registration. Yeah. And after his release by Town at the end of last season, he's gone straight back into the community ranks, and he's more than happy to pull on the shirt of Ensington, his boyhood club, and he's doing a good job for him.
Yeah, that's excellent.
I just think Ensington doing a really good job at the moment. Another team that is, they're unstoppable at this level, aren't they? Hull Dockers 4, East Leeds 70. East Leeds extended their unbeaten run with a rampant win at a depleted Hull Dockers side who had just 16 players available. The league leaders ran in 13 tries, with Jake Normington and Kieran Brinning each bagging 4 apiece, and AJ Wilson adding a hat-trick. Luke Littlewood also crossed over for a try and added 7 goals, while Shane Plunkett and Roy Railton completed the rout. The Dockers' only consolation came when Keane Dalelive scored in the first half. In the second half he scored. So Hull Dockers with that try from Keane Dalelive. East Leeds, 4 tries from Jake Normington, 4 tries Kieran Brinning, 3 tries AJ Wilson, 1 try each Luke Littlewood, Shane Plunkett and Roy Railton, 7 goals from the ever dependable Luke Littlewood. Is anybody going to stop him?
No. I'd say
do you think they're going to go unbeaten? Can we start talking in those things?
I think so. I think so.
They're certainly setting some records, aren't they?
Yeah. Barrow Island, they welcomed Dewsbury Celtic at the weekend, and Dewsbury Celtic overturned an early 8-0 deficit to claim a 16 points to 8 win over Barrow Island, keeping up their challenge near the top of the table. The Islanders struck through tries by Finn Dutton-Roscoe and Aidan White, but Celtic hit back with scores from Dom Senior, Billy Yarrow and Dane Windrow. Charlie Eaton landed 2 of the 3 conversion attempts. There was a moment of drama when Windrow was sin-binned for contact with the head, but Celtic's defence held firm. So scorers for Barrow Island were Finn Dutton-Roscoe and Aidan Wright. Dewsbury Celtic tries from Dom Senior, Billy Yarrow and Dane Windrow, and goals from Charlie Heaton, 2 from 3.
2 comments on this one. First of them, Barrow Island continue to be very, very competitive this season. It's a much better season than the one that they had last year, where I think they were around the bottom 3 for most of the season, weren't they?
Yeah.
For Dewsbury Celtic, I mean, they've been one of the standouts at this level all season. This is a real good win. I think if you can go away to somewhere like Barrow Island, like I say, ultra competitive in this division this season, and come out with such a hard fought win. I mean, only scoring 8 more points than your opposition. This points to the fact that this sounds like it were a cracking game, doesn't it?
And the other thing, as we said, Parky, from a travelling point of view, it's it's not always the easiest in the world to go over and get a win like that.
No, and we can say the same about Skirler as well. So it was 2 famous names coming up against each other at the weekend. Ellenborough Rangers and Skirler, they contested a Barlett Cup final back in 1996, and now they find themselves battling to try and avoid relegation from Division 2 of the National Conference. On this occasion, it was the visitors from East Yorkshire who came out on top, winning 28 points to 16 to leapfrog out of the drop zone and leave Elborough rooted to the bottom with their 8th straight defeat. Elborough struck first after just 7 minutes when Zach Olstrom touched down. Brett Stevenson added a goal to make it 6 points to 0, but Skirler quickly responded with tries from John Gay after 11 minutes and George Thompson after 26. Both were converted by Kieran Smith to move 12-6 in front. The host then levelled matters when Luke Broster crossed before the half hour, Stevenson again converting. But just before the break, this is going down in one of our favourite names of the season. Barnaby Teasdale grabbed a vital try to send the visitors in with a 16 points to 12 lead at the interval. After a scrappy spell in the second half, Callum Stark then extended Skirler's advantage with 10 minutes remaining before Elborough raised hopes through a late Ollie Bibby try. Those hopes though were dashed when Keegan Foster sealed the result with a final try, and Smith's 4th goal rounded out the scoring at 28 points to 16. Now there were a couple of cards in this one. Sin-bins. So Ryan Wilson, the skipper of Ellenborough Rangers, he got sin-binned after 35 minutes for holding down, and Barnaby Teasdale, well, he blotted his copybook because he got sin-binned after 65 minutes for a shoulder charge. But ultimately Ellenborough Rangers had tries from Zach Olstrom, Luke Broster, Ollie Bibby, with goals from Brett Stevenson, 2 of them, and Skirler had tries from John Gay, George Thompson, Barnaby Teasdale, Callum Stark and Keegan Foster, with Kieran Smith adding 4 goals from 5.
And Normanton Knights, they were up against Driglington. And a dramatic last-minute try by Luke Barnes, converted by Mike Sanderson, earned Driglington a stunning 26 points to 24 victory away at Normanton, despite the hosts outscoring them 5 tries to 4. The match was a feisty affair, littered with disciplinary issues. Normanton finished the contest with just 11 men on the field after both Jacob Crossland, sin-binned for slapping, and Noah Halliday, sin-binned for a dangerous lift, were sent to the sidelines. Driglington also saw Max Lidmore yellow-carded for kicking in a fiery second half. Despite the late chaos, the Knights had looked in control for large spells. They were inspired by a brace from Josh Crossland, with further tries coming from Mark Poppleton, Josh Green and Taylor Carter. Charlie Barker landed 2 goals but missed some crucial conversions that would ultimately prove costly. Driglington meanwhile kept themselves in the game through a double from Alfie Ward and a try by Reece Riddiford, before Barnes later wrote snatched the victory at the death. Sanderson was a perfect 5 from 5 kicking record, proved the difference on the scoreboard. So the scores from Normanton Knights: tries for Crossland 2, Mark Poppleton, Josh Green, Taylor Carter and Charlie Barker kicking 2 from 5. But for Dridlington, Alfie Ward went in for 2, Rhys Rediford, Luke Barnes and Mike Sanderson, the difference with 5 from 5.
That sounds like a really exciting game, that one, doesn't it? Had a bit of everything,
does.
A bit like your game, to be honest. And let's hear about your game just now, Steve.
Well, I was over, of course, at Clockface Mines versus Pilks Rex, which is a huge St Helens derby, no matter what divisions they play in. And it ended in a hard-fought 16-all draw, with both sides clinging to top 4 positions. Plot led through tries by Tommy Taylor, Ben Daniels and Carl Hunt, and looked to have done enough when Lewis Garrity converted the last of them with 11 minutes to go. Pilks, who had seen Harry Coleman sent off in the first half for alleged punching, had scored earlier on via tries from Ryan Lockett and George Hannon, double, and Kieran Napper converted twice. So the scorers were for Clockface, Tommy Taylor, Ben Daniels and Carl Hunt. Lewis Garrity successful with 2 from 3. For Pilks it was Ryan Lockett, 2 for George Hannon, and Kieran Napper also on the case with 2 goals from 3. But we had our man on the ground, as it were. I was there watching, and you can't go watching Clocks versus Pilk without bumping into a guy who was born in Clockface, but actually supports Pilks. So he was in for a bit of a stick. So I managed to catch up with friend of the show, as you mentioned earlier on, Mr. Eddie O'Sullivan. I'm here at Clockface after they've been playing Pilks Rex. Local derby, of course, and it's finished up 16 points all. I'm with a friend of the show and a man who's torn between 2 lovers I put on Twitter during the week, Eddie O'Sullivan. Eddie, thoughts on that game, mate?
Oh, well, Steve, torn between 2 lovers. I've copped some verbals being here this afternoon, I can promise you. Wonderful match. It's what we spoke about before the game. It was hoping it'd be bit feisty first half with a couple of yellows and a red. With a red card in the first half, I thought that'd make a difference in the second half, because this Clockface team are small and quick, really small and quick. But I thought Pilk's game management was superb, absolutely superb. Tom Connick getting injured in the second half. He was 15-20 minutes off the pitch.
Yeah.
But they consolidated.
I'm surprised he came back on, because I was right near that when he went down.
It didn't look good, did it?
No.
It looked nasty. But I thought the game management while he was off the pitch, the more experienced players, I thought Jamie Smith is just magnificent, isn't he? John Key as well, he had a great game. And I thought both teams put it in. It was a credit, it was feisty, but they both stuck to playing rugby league as well. The conditions made the kicking game interesting. I've got to give credit to Clockface for that last conversion to tie it up. To kick that from the touchline in this weather was something special.
Absolutely spot on, yeah.
But yeah, really enjoyed it, Steve. A great result. Well, I'd say a better result for Pilks than Clockface, especially, what was it, about 25 minutes? They had the man sent off. And you can't have any complaints about that. You swing an arm like that,
in this day and age, yeah, I totally agree.
You're going. But you all loved it. Great. For me, that's what. Not only is it the local derby adds to it, but what we've seen there this afternoon is everything that amateur rugby league's about for me.
Yes.
Well, now look at everybody now. Everybody's mixing. They're all friends and families. But I did cop some verbals before the game. Like you said, torn between 2 lovers. Born and bred in Clockface, but my heart lies firmly with Pilks Rex, as you well know, pal.
Speaking of Rex, then, from a season perspective, how are things going there?
A couple of defeats early in the campaign. I think that's 5-6 maybe unbeaten now. East Leeds next week, I think, at Ruskin. So that'll tell its own story. We played East Leeds away first game of the season, and at the time we got beat by about 36 points, and at the time I was disappointed. But when you look now and see that East Leeds,
in the bigger scale of things, that's nothing, is
East
it really?
Leeds have been putting 60-70 points on everybody.
Yeah.
I think Clockface went up there and got 70 points put on them. But in the scheme of the season, we've had a couple of tough years, as you know. We had a lot of players get to the age where they finished at the same point, the players from that championship winning side. About 2 years ago, they had no choice but throw a load of youngsters in. Had a couple of tough seasons, relegated. But now those kids have played a lot of games together. And when you throw in the Tom Connick, Jamie Smith, John Key, the experience of coaching, I've got to give a shout to John Rees on the coaching side of it. But these kids now they've played a lot of rugby. I thought Ryan Lockett today, the number 11 for Pilks, I thought he played a really tough game. He's hard as nails. And as the season goes, we've had some great wins, and for the first time in a couple of seasons, there's genuine pace in the Pilks team. They've got some quick players. The little chip and chase at the end, they did that 2 or 3 weeks ago and it resulted in a try, so no problem at all with them having a go at that. But they're travelling well, they're going well, and this was always marked as a big game. Obviously it's the local rivalry, and Clotface have given Pilks a bit of pain over the last few years, because Clotface have had some wonderful teams in the last 2 or 3 years. But and as the season's going, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. Next week is, I don't know what to expect with it. It's East Leeds, isn't it?
I think everybody who plays East Leeds to a certain extent, they're that good. And even last season they were that good. You were talking they're possibly 2 divisions higher than what they should be.
You don't know if there's almost got to be, I don't want to say damage limitation, but I was talking to, I can't remember which, it was one of the Yorkshire teams came over and we played them at Pilks and they'd played East Leeds the week before. And they said it was like playing a professional outfit. Yeah. He said they're unbelievably good. The players that they've recruited from, I think Hunslet is a place where they've recruited well from, shall we say. And then after that, we've got 2 home games on the bounce. But there's 3 teams. I mean, there's Clotface, Pilks, and I'm not sure, there was 3 of us on 14 points. So it keeps Clock neck and neck there, and I think it's all about the playoff positions now, isn't it? There's only going to be 1 league winner. Yeah. But no, the seasons, it's nice, and it's nice for the coaches and the players that have toughed it out for Pilks over the last 2 or 3 years, because they've had some really difficult couple of seasons. As you know, you follow the game as close as anybody does. But they've stuck together, they've stayed in it, and I think now they're getting a bit of the rewards that they deserve for that effort. But that today, both teams were brilliant. It was a great watch. Good crowd as well, Steve. Good crowd.
So it's always good down here at Clotface, got to say that. So, Eddie, great to see you. Thanks for joining us and giving us your words on that game. And obviously, we'll talk later in the season.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Steve. You and Parky again. I listen to your shows there, mate. It's the only ones doing anything like that. And to be honest, I don't think anyone else could come close to it. So keep it up, pal. Really appreciate everything you do.
Cheers, mate.
13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. We talk because we care.
Right, big thanks to Eddie there for joining us. And now I'm joined by Captain Tom Connick. Tom, your thoughts on that match, mate? Because it could have gone anywhere, couldn't it?
It really could. It could have gone anywhere. I think from my point of view, we're joint second at the minute. So that just showed the standard that both teams are at. Yeah. We were one went ahead, then the other team went ahead, and it was just backward and forwards all game. Both teams had people off, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but to be honest, I think both teams did well. I'm really proud of our lads. We had 12 men for around about 60 minutes of the game, and at some point in that 60 minutes we had a lad sin-binned as well, so we was playing with 11 at one point. So they dug in deep, which is what we talked about before the game. It's not as wide as Ruskin, so we knew it was going to be physical. We knew that they were going to come at us, and they were going to throw absolutely everything at us in attack and defence, which I think their first half, defensively, they did very, very well. They had 3 men in every tackle. They slowed the play of the ball down, which is not what I like. I want a quick play of the ball. And we just kind of found our own way into finding the spaces. We are picking players out, and we're aiming towards a certain target. So we will look and we'll see someone, for example, come on, and we'll go, right, let's get at them, let's check them out, let's see what they're like. And we played really well. I'm really, really proud. Honestly, really, really proud. I'm just glad the rain stayed away from me.
Yeah, I know. You mentioned that to me right at the beginning. I was talking. I was saying to Eddie there before, getting his opinion, obviously from a fan's point of view, of how the season's gone as a player and obviously captain. What are your thoughts? How do you think you are at the moment?
We had a really big talk at the beginning of the season. As a team, we kind of sat down and went, what do we want? Where do we want to go? How are we going to get there? And I think it was about our first 6 games, I think it was. Maybe a little bit less than that. We had 2 losses already. I mean, one was against East Leeds, which you can see from the table that they are just going everywhere. We've got them next week, so that's our next target is them. But then I think it was about 3rd or 4th game in, and we just went, right, our defence, we've got to be absolute gritty. And not in a nasty way, just as in, like, make sure you're in the tackle and make sure you're hitting hard when you're making that tackle rather than just throwing your arms around and trying to make it that way. And game by game, we kind of built on that. We went to Dewsbury Celtic. That was one of our biggest games this season, I think. Last season we went there and they beat us by 44-4, I think it was. It was something that beat us very, very easily. So we went there and we went, right, that's not happening. And we showed what we can do defensively. We showed that any team coming towards us, we can defend that. And I think we've done that more and more recently. If you look at our record, probably from last year defensively, we leaked points. This season we're not doing that as much. People aren't scoring as many tries. If teams are getting 3 sets against us, they still find it hard to get over that line, which is something that we've really, really tried to build on this year. And it's showing at the minute. The lads are working really, really hard for it. They're working for each other. And do you know what? Everyone's together.
Yeah.
Everyone's together, which we have struggled in the past.
Because it's not easy, and I know Clotface have been in a similar sort of situation, but they've come down. You've obviously tumbled over the last few seasons, and obviously trying to get confidence and motivation going. But it looks as though this season, you've stabilised things, and obviously you're right up there in the mix now. Yeah,
so we went from the Prem to Division 2, didn't we? We really did fall off for whatever reason it was. And I do think both ways. Winning's a habit, and so's losing. As soon as you lose and a team scores against you first, automatic response is, here we go again. So we have worked really, really hard on that, but we've got a group of lads now where everyone's there all the time. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Saturday. Even if they're not playing, they're there on the Tuesday, they're there on the Thursday, they're on the Saturday. It's become more and more close-knit, which, like I said, we struggled, and we came up... when we came down to Division 2, and we was relegation battle. We was literally fighting all the way down to that last game, and we won the last game and stayed up. Luckily, just missed out on playoffs somehow from that game, and I think that kind of gave us a bit of a confidence boost. If you look last season, I think we lost 9 out of our first 10. And then from then, something happened, and
you clicked and started.
We started finding them little victories, even if it was just a try or a penalty kick or whatever it was. We found something, and we've built on that massively this year. And we've gone a little bit more old schoolish in training, as in bashing just at Tuesdays. Your body's still sore from the Saturday, but we're there and we're tackling and playing games and doing like fitness games and all of that, and it's all just kind of coming together, because we did kind of go, we've had this injury, we've had that injury, we've had this, but we've got that this year, and we're showing that it doesn't matter about the injuries when we've got someone who can step in, because we're so close and still be that same team. So we're working hard, really proud, especially today with all that. I mean, it was really, really hard game.
It was a typical St Helens derby, wasn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, it really, really was. And both teams wanted to win. Both teams wanted to go clearer than the other team. And that showed in certain aspects. I think there was a little bit of nerves, probably about 15, 20 minutes in, both teams making a little bit silly mistakes. But I think as a fan, that was probably a good game to watch.
It was a very good game.
It was just back and forward all the time. And then you thought, we was going to kick a drop goal right at the end. And then they went the full length, and they nearly kicked a drop goal. It was
exciting
I think it was a deserved result for both teams, I think, because they probably could have won it, and we probably could have won it. So I think it was deserved how we both played.
Spot on. Tom, thanks very much indeed for joining us. All the best for the rest of the season. All the best with the ankle that I know was very painful, because you went down right in front. I thought it was a lot more serious looking at first, but all the very best anyway, moving on.
Cheers, thanks very much for your time. Thank you.
13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. We talk because we care.
Right, so there you go. That was Tom Connick from Piltrex, captain. Right, I'm now joined by Lee Cunningham, coach of Clopface. Lee, that's just lived up to his billing, as we were saying before.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on it?
I mean, if I was a spectator, I think that'd be one hell of an advert for Rugby League at times. I think Pilks, all credit to him, was probably better team on a lot of the facets of play that we needed to be in, where we needed to be the better team today, and then completions and them small details, composure, discipline. I thought, they probably did a better, despite them getting that man sent off early doors. I thought we was kind of really immature about some of the decisions that we were making. We're moving away from plan a little bit too quickly at times, and it's a shame really, because when we did play to plan, they get some success out of it, but I think we just need to be accountable and take ownership of that, and hopefully into the next game we've got Skirler away. We've got a couple of lads missing over the next 2 weeks. We've got Skirler away and then Barrow Island away, so I think a little bit of recovery needed this week, but I think we really need to kind of have a little bit of truth about ourselves and honesty, and be accountable for.
When a man gets sent off, do you feel that can disrupt things from a plan point of view, because the guys think, we've got a man extra here, so it's going to be ours type of thing?
It's something I talked about the other week with Paul, my assistant coach, and just about how we manage moments in the game. That game, people talk about it all the time. I'm a Warrington fan, and people used to talk about the game management of Lee Briers and people like that, and I think that's where we probably. Typically, if you got a man down, if you work to the middle of the pitch, you should, in theory, have an overlap on one side or the other. And what we tend to do is that perhaps get a little bit too exciting, like I say earlier, perhaps a little bit immature in that we get overexcited and we try doing an XYZ double P whatever ball, throw it out the backside, between your legs or whatever. And just when all we needed was to hit it up through the middle of the field, make the defence go tight, and play to our edges then. But from a pleasing point of view is that despite at times we had a lot of adversity thrown at us, I think, and we kept on going till the end, and equalised, and with that fantastic conversion by Lewis Geraghty,
against the wind there, I thought he's going to struggle here. But I noticed watching, and over the seasons I've watched Lewis kick, he doesn't rush things.
No,
it just swings through nice and easy, and over it goes.
Yeah, do you know? Honestly, Steve. Last week it wasn't his finest hour against Denzinger on our last plays, and I'm not just blaming him, but it was part. Going back to accountability again, partly it was on him last week, but honestly, this week I thought his last plays were really good, and that kick, just little things like that, where he's so special to us, and him and off the pitch, him and our right wing today, Shandy's normally centre, but. They've organised a big do for us tonight, and you were just talking about our kit man, going the club's built. Well,
that's right,
Despite all his great stuff he does on the pitch, Lewis Geraghty, he's equally as important for us off the pitch. He's an absolute stalwart for us. So
got to say, somebody else who I've always watched and I think's absolutely superb and still is your number 4. Is it Hunt?
Carl Hunt.
Hunt. You always get a good game from him. Every time I've seen him, always puts the efforts in, puts his hand up, gets in there.
100%. So he normally plays right centre today. We switched him over to the left. Because really of the form of the guy who is playing right centre at the moment for us, Ben Daniels. Carl took a knock, I think, early doors, and Ben's gone into he was playing fullback for us at the beginning of the season, Ben. He's gone into the right centre for us, and he's lit it up, you know. And if you're in form, then why should I change things around too much, you know? So Carl's gone to left centre this week, and he's at training, he's been really, really good. And again, I thought, to be fair to him, that was his best game of the season so far today for us. He was really busy, got really active. But I just think we need a little bit more maturity, and we can lay the platform for Carl. And
bearing that in mind, then, do you feel that is a point won or a point lost today?
Oh, it's a point lost.
Yeah.
Doesn't even. I don't even have to think.
Yeah.
We underperformed today. And that's where we need to be accountable. We underperformed. Quite poorly, to be quite frank. But the beauty of it is that we've always got next week now. We can go out and do it again. They were fourth, we were third in the league, and they've not overtook us. Perhaps they deserve to. I could argue that, but we just have to take what it is. It is 60. We came back. We showed some spirit. Showed some, teamwork to achieve what we achieved out the game, but we need to be a lot better than that week in, week out. We're on a little bit of a run. We started really, really well, and I think we chatted before the game about that. Despite the runs of wins that we were having, I wasn't really happy with most of our performances, and this is where, if we don't get that performance right, then the results can go against you. So we constantly, last year when we was getting beat by 100 points by Waterhead, we was totally focused on performance, and we're still on that performance journey. The results are the results; they look after themselves. But what we can control is our performance. So that's the journey we're on, and we'll keep going forward and taking things as they come. From a whole club's perspective, is that we're getting two teams out regularly now, and this, that and the other, so we're on the grow, we're doing things right, but we can't expect to be we can't expect to be East Leeds or this, that and the other, now when we have such a young team.
And the thing is, the bottom of the day, the end of the day, you're in the mix. And
absolutely.
And it's all about getting that position ready for those playoffs at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, and the big thing for me is that we'll keep working on performance, because when we do get our performance right, when that does start to happen, like, what can we do then? Because we're winning, or today we drew, and we're not playing well. So when we do start to play well, I just think our potential, the ceiling of our potential is really, really high. We just need to grow. We just need to make smart and more mature decisions, and that's something for me and Paul to continue to work on. As long as the lads keep on putting them efforts in, then I'm sure then that the journey will be a bright one, I hope.
It's certainly that. Lee, thanks for joining us straight after the game. All the best for the rest of the season.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you again whenever we do in the future, as always.
Back down.
Yeah, no problem, mate. Thank you.
Green Cooling keeps the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show cool, even when tackles get heated.
There you go. That's Eddie O'Sullivan, Tom Connick and Lee Cunningham. And to be honest, Parky, I think they all summed it up, the game, perfectly. It was a typical St Helens derby. Pilks managed it really, really well. And Lee Cunningham was correct that his side really slipped up when they had the chance with regards to that extra man, etc. And should have thought immaturity was a little bit of a harsh word, but I could understand where he was coming from.
I thought all of them sort of summed that game up well. It was interesting to hear all the different sides and perspectives, of it. And I love the fact that Evil's clock face haven't quite clicked yet, and they're sitting in third. That suggests that there is some more to come. I mean, the turnaround at Pilks as well over these last 12 months has been tremendous, because Eddie was right when he mentioned that when we looked at these tables in the midpoint of last season, Pilks were looking like they were on for double relegation, weren't they? And there's a couple of sides that are looking that way now, and it almost feels like when I look at that table, Skirler have had that sort of, they've reached the bottom and now they're starting to climb. So they're almost right at the start of the journey that Pilks find themselves on at the moment. Listen, I mean, you take East Leeds out of the equation, who on the balance of all their results are a Premier Division side playing at League 2 level this season. And the rest of that league, there ain't a lot in it, is there? You know, you look at Dewsbury Celtic, second on 16 points, then you've got Clock with 15, Pilks on 15, Hensingham on 14, Normanton on 12, Driglington on 12, then Barrow Island, who I was sort of really praising before about being very competitive, sitting down in 8th position actually on 10 points. Then you've got Skirler, who are starting to pick up a couple of wins of their own, sitting in 9th with 3 wins. They're just 2 wins off the pace of those rest of them.
And the thing is, though, Park, you just mentioned 2 teams there. You've mentioned Barrow Island and Skirler, both who clock play in the next 2 games, both away. And we know both those teams are, you know,
they're better on their own, on their own, on their own pitches, aren't they? You know, so interesting times ahead. Right, moving on to Division 3, and Saddleworth are back top of the tree in Division 3. They climb back to the top of the division with a commanding shutout over previous leaders Bentley. Elliot Kane opened the scoring in the first half, and second half tries from Finn Winterbottom and Connor Whitehead, who also slotted over all 3 conversions, secured the win. So, reminder, those tries came from Elliot Kane, Finn Winterbottom and Connor Whitehead, who also added 3 goals. Notable win that, because I mean we've commented about Ben. This was one of those games last week where I said I'm looking forward to seeing what the result is, and that's commanding from Saddleworth actually.
It certainly is, and I think one of the interesting points there is keeping Bentley scoreless.
Yeah, there's not many teams that have been able to do that this season. No. You know, when you look at it, and there's not a lot between the top 3 sides for who's scoring most points, in all honesty. So you've got Saddleworth are now the top point scorers within the division with 231. Bentley, the 3rd top point scorers, 218. And Keighley Albion on 225.
And interesting enough, Keighley Albion were up against Dissington, and obviously Keighley Albion have been on a 7-match winning run, would you believe? Well, that all came tumbling down, and Dissington ended that with a well-earned victory. Brian Ritchie's first half try was converted by Kieran Worthington. Jack Penrice and Kyle Jenkinson added further scores before Conor Megan grabbed a late response for Albion. Discipline proved a challenge for both sides, with multiple yellow cards shown. So for Dissington, tries came from Ritchie and Penrice and Jenkinson, while Worthington kicked a goal. And for Keighley Albion, it was just Conor Megan with a try.
Yeah, and big win for Myton Warriors as well, to be honest here. I wasn't quite expecting this, because I know that both of these sides have been very, very competitive over the course of the season. Myton Warriors 46, Featherstone Lions 10. And Myton Warriors have surged up the table with a dominant display over Fev Lions. Nathan Slater crossed twice in the first half with further tries from Tyler Sanders, Alfie Wall, Josh Branigan and Jack Sanderson. Despite a brief reply from the Lions, Sanderson and Liam Ward then sealed the win. Sanderson also landed 6 goals, with Wall adding 1 more. So the tries for Myton Warriors, 2 from Nathan Slater, who has been a regular try scorer throughout his career, no matter where he's played. I think he's played a bit at Skirler. I think he's done the rounds of the whole clubs basically, you know, but a free scoring halfback. 2 tries for him on that occasion. Tyler Sanders, Alfie Wall, Josh Branigan, 2 from Jack Sanderson and 1 from Liam Ward for the Myton, all for Myton Warriors. Jack Sanderson kicking 6 goals, Alfie Wall kicking 1, and the response from Featherstone Lions came courtesy of tries from Jack Breers and Alfie Beresford. Just the 1 goal from Danny Johnson, but that's a notable victory that for Myton.
Yeah, it certainly is. Millom, they were up against Beverley, and they held firm in a nail-biter to overcome Beverley and strengthen their top 6 hopes. Tries from Dom O'Brien and Tom Askew gave them a 12-0 lead. Beverley responded though through Alex Paddock, Joe Walton and Joe Ross, but Connor Tyrrell's late try and Lee Postlethwaite's reliable boot clinched the win. So for Millom, scorers Dom O'Brien, Tom Askew and Connor Tyrrell, and goals from Lee Postlethwaite with 3. For Beverley it was Alex Paddock, Joe Walton, Joe Ross, and goals from George Cook.
A close run thing that for Millom, but I know that they were happy to get that win. And you're right, that keeps them on the coattails with the top 6. So they're currently 7th with 4 wins from their 9 games. We are halfway through the season now, with 9 games played by each of these teams in this division, apart from Mighton, who's played 10. And the final roundup that we're going to is Milford's trip. Milford hosting Lee East, and Lee East snapping out of a 4-game losing streak with an energetic performance away at bottom side Milford. The visitors charged ahead with 6 tries, and they came from Bernard Abogai, Kai O'Brien, Lewis Kenny, Cam Clark, Connor Graney and Brad Unsworth. Milford fought back with scores from Steve Bacon, Callum Platts and Keenan Tierney, but it wasn't enough to close the gap. So a reminder, those try scorers for Lee East: Bernard Abogai, Kai O'Brien, Lewis Kenny, Cam Clark, Connor Graney and Brad Unsworth, with goal split between Nathan Leach, who added 2, and Matty Aspinall, who added 1. And then for Milford, those tries from Steve Bacon, Callum Platts and Keenan Tierney, with goals split between Martin Loveridge and Ryan Pinder with 1 try each. And that keeps Lee East in that 6th position, but it's uncomfortable for them.
Yeah, very much so. When we saw them at the beginning of the season, again, I thought, like most of the teams we say, you've got to win your own matches, and that the rugby they play on that pitch where they play some really sparkling stuff, but they've got to try and get a few more wins under the belt.
But to be honest, going over to Milford, because Milford play on a similar sort of pitch. Yeah. So again, this is the they call it the Kirkstall training venue. So it's where Leeds Rhinos have their training base as well, to be honest. And so it's a 3 or 4G pitch. So it was like home away from home, I'm guessing, for the East, so there wasn't much difference. It's whenever they play on grass pitches that seems to be the
struggling. Yeah, and I think we mentioned that last season as well, if I'm not wrong. So what's going on this week, Parky?
Well, shall we start with our big news?
Which is?
Well, we're back out, aren't we? We're back doing a commentary. We've had a few weeks where we've almost hung the mic up. Now, I think that's come more down to my work with BBC Radio Cumbria, hasn't it?
I think people would say that doing a foreigner, wouldn't they?
Doing a foreigner?
Yeah.
It's a foreign accent, I suppose, to a lot of Cumbrians. There is that about it. But I'm really glad that we're getting the show back on the road. And where are we going, Steve?
We're going to where we were at the beginning of the season, and we're really looking forward to it, because we're going to Oldham again, Parker.
I do like going to Oldham.
Well, that's what you said before, wasn't it?
I do, yeah. And this is another cracking venue, and again, another one where when you're stood on the side of the pitch, where you're looking over the pitch, and we get the. I've already had the word from Jeff Owen, by the way. The dusting off the gantry.
The dusting. Oh, excellent.
So when we're on this gantry, well, you can see again the foothills of the Pennines, can't you? And I feel like I'm in heaven.
The other thing is they get a good crowd there, considering that it's actually a local park, isn't it? Mm-hmm. They maintain it really well, and to cap all this off, they're having a cracking season, aren't they?
They certainly are.
That's Waterhead Warriors, by the way.
We've not said who they're playing against yet.
Well, that's got to be the tasty bit, isn't it, Parker?
Yeah, they're up against second place Siddle. Now fresh off beating Lee Miners Rangers. It's been a few weeks since we've seen them in action, and it would be fair to say that Lewis Hosty seems to be finding his scoring groove again. Was it 2 tries, 8 goals this past weekend? They're finding the form at just the right time of the season. I think we're in for an absolute barnstormer of a game, to be fair. And this is one, by the way, that is set 4th, taking on 2nd. So for me, it's the pick of the Premier Division fixtures. We'll have it live for you via our Mixler channel. Do look out, as I've got to dust off the I've got to dust off the graphics again.
I don't know.
I need to find the graphics again. It's been that long since we used them. It's been a couple of months since we've been on the road, really, hasn't it? Sort of covering a game.
I was finding out or seeing on Twitter, I think it was, and I think you've had a message off Jeff about Waterhead Warriors having a new signing as well.
Yes, so they've got a player coming on loan from Wigan Warriors. How times have changed.
Oh, I tell you.
How times have changed in the community game. So he's going to be playing on dual registration at the weekend. And he's in contention for the weekend, I should say. Finn Rogers. So he's a halfback that has actually played rugby union as well. So he spent some time in the Sale Academy system. Quite well thought of at Wigan. I've seen him earlier this season as well, again in doing me Jolly Foreigners in Cumbria.
Jolly Foreigner.
And that was when he laced the boots of Swinton Lions and played against Workington Town. And he seems like he's quite a tidy player. However, that particular game against Workington, I didn't feel like he got the best of support from the rest of his teammates. Who didn't seem to know him. But I always think it's hard for a halfback in particular to sort of go in somewhere and make an impression.
Well, that's it, because you've got to run the show, haven't you? And the thing is, if the people aren't comfortable with you and the way you playing or where you're instructing, etc., it can be difficult, can't it?
Now, if he's going into Waterhead, we know that is a pretty settled halfback pairing with Owen and Keegan Brendan.
Surprising that.
Is he going to go on off the bench? Possibly had a little bit of support from there, or are they thinking for the next few weeks they're going to be a little bit short on numbers with some of those
again?
With some of those, I mean, we're in approaching prime holiday time. The festivals have just started. Right. We had Park Life on the weekend. We've got Oasis on the horizon, haven't we? I won't mind going seeing an Oasis on the horizon, but perhaps not those two brothers from Manchester. That's not the Oasis I was thinking of. But even so, I'm stoked that we're out. It'll be a bazzer.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to it, I must admit, because they're absolutely so hospitable up there. I mean, and welcoming us with open arms and a really good crowd. I'm really, really looking forward to it.
So, other fixtures in the Premier Division this coming weekend. Lee Miners Rangers, they're at home to Wathbrow Hornets. Which Wathbrow Hornets will turn up? And indeed, what will Lee Miners be able to name? That's the two questions regarding that one. Rochdale Mayfield, they're at home against York Acorn. It's been a close encounter between these two for the last few times when they met each other. So, again, I'm anticipating quite a close game in that one, to be honest. I don't even know which way it's going to go. And then I have no idea where this one's going to go either, because you had Datto, who we talked about, got beat by Dewsbury Moor Maroons at the weekend, hosting a bang-in form Hunslet ARLFC. There's our game, of course, Waterhead Warriors against Siddle. You will be able to listen to that via our Mixler channel. Look out for the link appearing over the next couple of days. And then, it doesn't get any easier for Dewsbury Moor Maroons. They've gone and picked up the first win of the season. They've only got to go and travel over to West Hull, haven't they?
They fancied themselves for that one now.
So that's going to be... That's going to be an interesting old fixture, that one, isn't it? Moving into Division 1, Egremont at home to Shawcross Sharks. Again, that's an interesting game for Egremont. Heweth at home against Wigan St Jude's. This in itself looks like a massive game, to be honest. I've mentioned before, Heweth have been flying under the radar. I wouldn't be surprised, if Heweth can pick up a result there.
Do you think so?
I do. I do. I do. And I don't mean it as a slight against Wigan St Jude's, by the way. I just think that Heweth on their own pitch, and I know that's a place where you've never been, Steve.
No.
We've got to make a trip out to Heweth at some point before too long. And I can show you what you've been missing, because that is, again, another fantastic place to watch your community rugby league. There's many of them. I like a lot of these grounds, don't I? To be honest,
I'm exactly the same. I mean, I think it's Saddleworth. I think was the one I fell in love with when we were there.
Ince and Oldham again. Introse Bridge against Kells is the next one on the horizon. Alton Raiders against Woolston Rovers.
That's a biggie.
Is a biggie, isn't it? You know, I mean, a win for Alton Raiders, they can start looking up the table again. A win for Woolston, and they can start looking up the table again. But I don't know which way that's going to go. We heard it being said by Callum Cashin a bit earlier, but Oldham St Anne's over at Stanley, which I think is going to be an interesting old fixture, a tricky one. Yeah. Wigan St Pat's at home against Crossfields. Crossfields need to start picking up the occasional victory on the road, don't they? Can they follow up what they've done?
That is going to be a tough one, because Pat's at home are
different beast.
Different beast.
Very much so. Very much a different beast.
The best result Crossfield could hope from that is the Alton Raiders and Woolston draw. Because I think that's the only thing they're going to get out of that would help.
Moving into Division 2, Driglington, they're at home to Barrow Island this week. Dewsbury Celtic go over to Ellenborough Rangers. Hensingham, they're at home against Northampton Knights. That looks like a really good fixture in this division. Hull Dockers at home to Thornhill Trojans, a clash of the two strugglers in the division there. Pilkington Rex, well, they're hosting East Leeds. Listen, I think if they get within 30 points, that's a result, isn't it?
I think that was right. What was said in the interviews was it's sort of just a damage limitation, I think.
And you mentioned it, Clotface going over to Skirler.
They've just got to be careful, though, I think, Clotface. I mean, I think Lee was right. They've got to be mature about things and sort of... it's a game they can certainly win, there's no problems there, but they could end up beating themselves to a certain degree when they don't need to.
An attractive looking fixture tops the Division 3 fixtures this week. Bentley, they're at home against Keighley Albion. That's going to be worthwhile turning out for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Featherstone Lions at home to Milford. Lee East at home to Beverley. And again, I can't help but be surprised at where Beverley find themselves within the division, so the second bottom of the league.
So that's a biggie again, isn't it?
It's a big one, that, for Lee East, and it's a big one, that, for Beverley, to be honest. You've got two desperate sides who'll be hoping to pick up the points. Myton Warriors at home against Millom, and Saddleworth Rangers, they're at home as well against Dissington, which I think is a cracking fixture once again. Dissington, we know how good they were last year. We know how good they were last week, beating Keighley Albion. So I'm wondering whether we'll finally get to see one of these Cumbrian sides travelling well and putting a performance up on the road.
Yeah. It's got to be said, Parky, there's been some really good games this weekend. And there's some really interesting ones to come again. I mean, like we said, there's some that have... they're just a routine league match, but even at this time, halfway through the season, suddenly you're getting teams where there's a real dependence on those points.
There's loads to come, isn't there? Loads to come from this show as well. We can't wait to be on the road again over at Waterhead as they take on Siddle. We'll be there. You'll be able to listen into every tackle, every try, every scrum. Sounding like our
you sound like our advert.
Yeah. I am. All I need is to mention Green Cooling. I've cracked it. Once again, absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much to all of our guests. Steve, thank you as ever.
Pleasure, mate. You know that.
And we'll be back again to do it all next Wednesday. Ta-ra.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.